Let me know once we've. Brilliant. Thank you, Tony. You're onto it, my friend. Let's get into it. So guys, like I said before, it is great to be here tonight to be presenting to you on whether we should be looking to buy now or whether we should be looking to wait. Such a relevant topic. And I don't know if any of you guys caught the video that I did today where I jumped in on social media, because there was an article that came out in the Herald today. And it's one of those articles that makes you go, oh, I need to read more, because it's all about the biggest dip that we've seen in the property market in 14 years. Now, how do we view that? Is that an opportunity, or is that a, well, let's run? That's something I'd like to talk about today. So this is what we will be covering off today. First of all, I'm going to talk about the difference of when we're investing and comparing wealth and cash flow. I think that's something that is very important when you're investing in properties, understanding the difference or the combination of investing for wealth or for cash flow. As well as that, I'm going to give you guys my market prediction. Now, for those of you that were at WealthX on the weekend, you're not allowed to give away my secret in what is happening within the market, because I'm going to be able to share with everybody else the fascinating bit of advice that I've got for them in terms of what is going to be happening within the market going forward. As well as that, we're going to talk about it. Should we be buying now, or should we be waiting? I mean, should we wait 6 months, because could the market shift? Let's discuss that tonight. We'll get into a little bit more detail on that one for sure. And then as well, what sort of property should we be buying? Are we looking at existing property? Is that better for us in terms of tax benefits? Or are we looking at existing property, and have we got ways that we can make better capital uplift or better cash flow with some tax benefits as well? So that's something that we'll talk a little bit about today as well. And I'm going to be able to share with you guys some current examples that are happening in today's market, that you can get a bit of a gauge as to what sort of properties you could be looking for that can create the wealth for you if you are looking to purchase in the current market. Now, without much more, I'd like to jump into and talk a little bit about the concept of wealth. So obviously here at Wealth Mentor, it's in our name, we're all about creating wealth. But wealth is such a unique concept, because wealth for every single one of you, and there's many of you on the call right now, I can't even fit you all on one screen, you're across 2 screens, only 3 cameras on, but I won't go on about that. But you know, there's many of you on this call tonight. Many of you will have different concepts or different thought processes in terms of what wealth means to you as an individual. And when you start to understand what that wealth that you believe in, or what's relevant to you as an individual, you can start to understand what you need to be doing with your investing within your lifestyle to be able to create the life for you. To give you a bit of an idea as to how this could look, for me, it's all about my family. Wealth is all about what my family gets from the investments within business, within life. Being able to go and spend time today watching my daughter come, she came 8th at cross country and I had a tear in my eye. It's a bit of a softie in terms, but having those moments for me is absolutely everything. For many of us on this call, and I can tell by a few of the names, like myself, we're probably not born in New Zealand. So again, I love asking this question. Let me know in the chat where you were born, just for reference. I'd love to hear where everybody's from, but I was born in South Africa. My parents made a massive sacrifice, as many of you would know, to be able to move across to another country to create a better life. And that, I think, is something that really resonates in terms of creating a better life for me and my sister. Meant that I wanted to create the better life for me and my family. And property became the vehicle that did that for me. So within that, I first found Wealth Mentor probably around about 8 years ago now, after being on a reality TV show. We won't talk about that because I made a complete fool of myself on national television. But what it did do is it gave me the inspiration for what property could do for my family. Gave up my life as a tennis coach and moved into property, became a mentor, and then ultimately became head of property and CEO here at Wealth Mentor. And it's an absolute honor to be presenting to you guys tonight. For me, family, like I mentioned, my parents, I love standing here. You can see exactly in the spot that I'm in on that slide there. I love standing here and being able to teach and share the knowledge that was imparted on me and any knowledge that I've been able to create over years of investing and working with multiple different students to be able to show them a journey to creating the freedom. As well as that, big fan of my fly fishing. Paul will know definitely that I like to get down to Taupo and have a bit of a flick around for sure. Again, jumping in the chat there, you can see there's one New Zealand in the middle there, Bailey. You've got a little bit of Kiwi around. I know there's a few more of you out there, but some other countries, India, Fiji, a couple of English. Brilliant. It's great to have you guys all here. But let's jump into it and talk about whether we should be looking to buy property in the current market. Now, I'm going to start off with giving you a very simple quote. Now, this is a quote that we believe in here, or it's actually really a tip in terms of investing in property. And I'd recommend writing this one down. It seems a little bit odd that you would go into an investment without that investment ever needing to appreciate. Think of it that way. You're going into the investment as though that price of that investment will never increase. Now, we all know, we've all been through the last 10, 20 years, 30 years, some of us longer, but we won't mention names, in terms of seeing what has happened within markets, within property. We've seen, on average, property double in value every 7 to 10 years. But imagine going into every single transaction that you're doing with having the ability to know that the wealth is created at the purchase, not needing growth, not relying on growth, but having the ability to know that the purchase is getting you to where you want to get to in the immediate term with that property, and growth is just a beautiful byproduct. So then when we jump into that, we start to have a look at whether we should be going down the route of going down income, or should we be going down wealth? I could just see that comment coming in from Lisa. So team, can everybody else see my presentation okay? Yes. Lisa, it might just be your setting. So if you go top right corner, I would imagine if you change your view, you might be on a different setting. All good. Hopefully you can get that sorted, Lisa, and you can see the presentation. If not, well, you just have to look at me, and I'm really sorry about that. But that's second prize, I guess. But when we're going into these transactions, it's looking at whether we're going to go down wealth or income. And this is something that we often hear. Are you going to go down a property that's going to appreciate? Are you going to go down down the path of a property that has high cash flow? And often high cash flow is associated to apartments or some other type of property in that sense. But what about if we can actually go in and buy properties that have the ability to get wealth and grow wealth, but also get cash flow, but also have the ability to have the land? All right, there's a lot of people that can't see the presentation at the moment. So let's see if we can figure this one out as a team. So top right-hand corner on all your screens, let me test my one out and see if that, it says view. If you go speaker, okay. Tanya, can you give me host back? Because everybody's in here now. Thank you. Let's try this. How about now, team? Is that better? Cool. I think we may have sorted the issue. So everybody can now see slides, income versus wealth. Does that mean you missed the slide of my family? Let's go back. Let's quickly have a look. There we go. There's the family. Don't want you guys to miss that one. My favorite slide of the whole presentation. So we got to make sure we get that one. And here's that quote, guys. Maybe grab a screenshot, grab your phones out, write that one down. Buy property as though it will never increase in value. Apologies on that one. I am running tonight without Nimesh. Now, he's usually our tech guy. but tonight it's me on my camera. So that's probably why I'm IT issues, should we say. Right, so getting back to it, we talk about the concept of going down income and wealth. But what I want to share with you guys is ways that we can go down both avenues. We can go down both avenues and being able to have the ability to create wealth and get income from the investments that we're going into. Now, investing in property right now is such an interesting space because boy, have we seen some changes over the last 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. And it's really quite frustrating for me to see how much property investors are, well, bashed, I guess is one way to put it. I'm back to letting people in. So if I walk forward, that's just what I'm up to there. So let's have a look at some of the things that we have seen within the property market over the last little while. There we go. First of all, we had the triple CFA come in. This here changed the landscape for lending and really put a little bit of a dampener on the market initially. This is probably the initial slowdown that we saw where lending got a little bit harder through the mainstream banks. They were unsure as to the rules, so the markets sort of started to shift a little bit. As well as that, we saw a tax rate change. For those of us that are earning above that 180K mark, unfortunately, we now have a slightly higher tax rate. And you guys that are there, we want to look at how we can be more tax efficient and enjoy the benefits of making sure you're structured correctly. As well as that, we've had the highest interest rates in 14 years. So interest rates are at a higher point right now than what they have been for a while. And this has created a little bit of uncertainty. For me, I believe that the once people get a little bit more used to or comfortable with the fact that interest rates have risen, we will start to see a little bit more buyers come into the market. Because really, to be honest, 5%, and that's what we've just seen ANZ pull back their 1 year rate, 5% is not a high interest rate. I'd be more than comfortable paying 10, even more than that in terms of the deals that we're doing, because you make sure that the deal stacks up. And it's just working towards what deal and the interest rate is best going to suit for the investment that you're jumping into. So interest rates high, not a problem. We can work through that. Material shortage, definitely something that we have seen. The fact is that we've had this jib crisis where people haven't been able to get their jib. In turn, it's probably created a little bit of uncertainty once again. But hey, that's just a part of what we got. So we deal with it and we find other alternatives. On top of that as well, we've had LVR changes. My belief, we're going to see LVRs shift in a more favorable manner, probably coming back to a 70% from a mainstream banks and maybe even towards an 80%, because that is a great way that the Reserve Bank is able to control markets. And then we've had the interest deductibility, which is obviously one that is probably not the most fun for those of you that have existing properties that are not high cash flowing properties, and suddenly now they've potentially become negative. That's why we want to be making sure we're buying the right types of properties, but also looking at how we can become tax efficient with these types of properties that we're investing in. That is something that you really want to look at, how you can get new code of compliance, potentially look at who you're renting a property to make sure you do have those tax benefits, because this is something that can hit you if you're not on top of that. For me, what we've seen within the last little while is a shift to a little bit more of a true market. It's a word that we talked a little lot about here at Wealth Mentor, because a true market reflects similar demand for stock on the market and demand. And that has been driven by a number of factors. One of them being that our borders have previously been shut or relatively shut, meaning that we haven't got a lot of people coming in. We have had a lot of people starting to leave New Zealand, going off on their OE, heading over to Australia. So in turn, that creates a little bit less of a demand. Once people start to roll into New Zealand, that could be an interesting time. Bear in mind that at the moment, the amount of people living in motels and hotels is 30,000 people. Isn't that a staggering number? That still gives us a huge, huge shortage within property. So we need to be aware of that to make sure that we can fit that demand. So you jump into the media and you have a little bit of a look at what's happening in the property, and this is just me Googling property market NZ. And most of it is very negative. And for those of you that saw the video I posted today around the latest article from the Herald, it does create a lot of fear. One thing that I always want you guys to bear in mind whenever there is an article put out by mainstream media is how are they actually reading that data? How are they looking at that data to give you that clickbait headline? Because often what we see is there is targeted little pockets that they've used in terms of the data for a certain area to then give this headline, which would then theoretically be put towards the whole New Zealand market. And again, this is where when you go to invest, you really want to be understanding your niche market. Talking to some clients today, and they've done exceptionally well. They've gone on to buy 20 properties. They're busy doing a subdivision, and they were wanting to have a talk through a few different parts of their investing. But the key message was, if you know your area and you know that you've got your demand, you know that there's the values within your area, it gives you some real certainty within your investing. And that is something you really, really want to consider. But when you take into account all these articles that we've seen and all the noise that's being put across within property, and yes, we have seen a lull in the values and dips in certain areas, but isn't this exciting? Isn't this an opportunity now to get in there and purchase your investment properties and set your family up for wealth? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Because the interesting thing is, when property goes on sale, everyone goes, nah, I'm not buying. It's a down market. Why would I want to buy property? That's ridiculous. It's a downwards market. Not going to make any money. It's not going to grow in value. But would we ever go to, let's say, farmers and go, you know what, I'm not buying that because at the moment that is on sale. That is ridiculous. I would like to only pay full price for that, or I would actually prefer it if you're actually putting the prices up in the next few days, then I potentially will look to buy this pillow. I don't know why I went pillow, must be late at night. And it's interesting when you look at the mentality around that concept. Why is it that when property's on sale, everyone goes no? But when everything else is on sale, everyone's rushing to the malls to go and buy whatever junk they think that they need. But when we can jump in and actually have the opportunity to get in there and buy the right types of property, what that is essentially doing or meaning is there is an opportunity ahead for us. There's an opportunity in front of us for those that are willing to understand, those that educate and put the work in. There is going to be an opportunity in front of you to be able to create wealth and create the life for you and your loved ones, the life that you want, that wealth that we talk about. And that's something that I believe is a huge, huge opportunity. So when we go through it and we look at what the market has done, this here is a little bit of a snapshot over the last 16 years within the property market. Now you can see there's starting to get that little dip at the end of there. Yes, that doesn't include the 2022. So we have seen a slight, a similar dip to what we've seen there in 2007 to 2009, which was GFC. Global financial crisis. The worst drop that we've seen in values in property within New Zealand, where the biggest drop that we saw in certain areas was 10%. 10% down. Now, even if we have that, which we do currently have that in certain pockets of New Zealand, isn't that just taking us back to earlier in the year? Is it really that much of a dip, or is it a slight correction within the values? Be your own judge. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, what it's all about is just making sure that you understand the ability. Oh, somebody's drawing on my screen. We have the ability, let me go back to that, to understand that only a slight dip in the market is not going to affect the properties if you're buying them at the right prices. But the cool thing is that you don't actually have to worry about what the market's going to do. Because guess what? Jono's here. And Jono can just tell you what the market's going to do. Because you know what I did this morning? I got to the office at around about 10 o'clock this morning. And on the way in, I thought, you know what? Before I go in, I've got a webinar tonight. I must check my crystal ball before we do go. I must check the crystal ball and see what the property market's going to do. And here's what it told me. First of all, the market could go down. That's right. We could go down. But hey, it could go up. We could come out of it. Immigration starts to roll in again. We start to get people in. Confidence goes in. The Reserve Bank alters LVRs, and suddenly the property market becomes a little bit more buoyant. But hey, it could stay the same as well. So you're welcome. There you go. I know you came here tonight, guys, to find out exactly what is going to happen in the market. But Tanya, you put it now on the head there. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, you go back to the economists and their predictions over the last however many years. We always joke that I think they got 2 of the last 100 crashes that they predicted correct. You know, there is certain data and certain concepts that you will look at, but in the day, if you're trying to time the market or understand the market, you're not going to be able to make wealth within property, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to gamble the market. And we want to take the gambling away. We want to have the certainty. You know, all jokes aside, like I said before, we got borders opening, and I think that they will have a big impact on things. I'm predicting an LVR shift really shortly. I think the current government will want to make sure that the housing market does not move too much lower, because that's going to look very negative for them going into an election late next year. So I think that there will be some measures put in place. And as well as that, I mentioned it before, guys, the emergency housing situation is an absolute disaster. When you've got 30,000 people living in emergency homes, hotels and motels, that there is a huge, huge issue, and something that we are going to need to do something about. And guess what? As investors, we have an opportunity to fit that mold, but also to be able to create the wealth for our family. So guys, it comes back down to buy property as though it's never going to increase in value. And I'm really passionate about being able to show people that there's a way to be able to buy properties without relying on the market to move, without relying on the growth or gambling within the market. So there's a strategy that you can implement, and it is a simple strategy that you guys can implement within your investments. And if you don't take anything away, make sure you take this concept away. Simple strategy that you can use in order to be able to understand and be able to keep yourself safe and create that wealth in any market. Again, keep yourself safe, because I know that's big for everybody, probably why you're here tonight, as well as that, be able to make sure you can create your wealth. It comes down to something, and for those of you that have seen me speak, you would have seen this one before, because it is such a simple but such an effective concept. Buy below value, add perceived value, and enjoy the equity gain. Let me jump on the board for a second here. When we talk about the ability to buy below value and add value, it's really important to understand what sort of numbers we're looking at. So if we take, for example, that the property market sits here, and this is what we'll call the market value. And this is taking one particular property within a market and understanding what the value of that property is. It's market value. And then we go and we apply the formula that I've given you guys there. Simple, but hugely effective. First of all, we go in, the property's worth this, and we purchase the property for this. Now, ideally, we're looking to get anywhere between, probably 10% plus, depending on the market, on the properties that we're doing in the market, the particular market that you're in. The next concept is add perceived value. So we go in there and we add another 10% to the property. Those 10% look slightly different, but that's right. You understand what I mean? So if we have the ability to take market value, understand the concept of buying below value, the ability to then add value, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves, bearing in mind that our property is now worth this, we bought it at this, we've got a whole lot of safety. Yes, that says safety. Now, where this actual 20% that we've gained sits is kind of irrelevant. Whether it sits more below when we've made our 20% or it sits above. The principle is that we want to be able to get that equity gain. So that equity gain then gives us the ability to either revalue, refinance, and go again, or if you're trading the property, we would sell it and realize that gain that we've seen. Can't see the board, Sheree. If you give it a bit of a zoom, you'll be able to see it'll change your view. This is why we do have our tech guy on our master classes, and he makes sure that you guys see we've got big cameras behind, but I've got my camera showing you guys tonight, so just bear that in mind. And apologies if you couldn't see that one, but essentially buy below value, add value. So what I'd like to share with you guys now is actually 10 ways that you can add value to property. I'm just going to race through these because I do have a lot of information I want to share with you guys. But I do, for those of you that do join us on any of our further education, I'll go into this in a lot more detail and show you how you are able to make sure you are adding value to those properties that you are purchasing. So let's have a look at it. Adding value to property. Nice and simple. Cosmetic renovations, jump in there, give it a paint job, make it look nice and pretty, potentially staging it if you're selling it. Then we go into something a little bit to step up. Structural renovations. Are we changing layouts? Are we turning a laundry into another bedroom? This is a great way to add value as well as add yield to the property for sure. Extensions, adding on to the property. Conversions. Do we have a shed? Do we have a garage that we can convert into another dwelling? And then in turn, getting more rent or getting more value from it. A change in title. For those of you who don't know titles, you've got different ways that the property can be held in terms of its title, and it could be a leasehold, it could be a freehold, it could be cross-lease. A change in a title can actually adjust the value of your property. As well as that, it could be looking into jumping in and adding dwellings, so adding another dwelling onto your bit of land. That'll once again, change the value, but also have some great tax benefits as well in terms of being able to get you interest deduction. Subdivisions, obviously a great way to add value. Don't need to go into much more detail there. The consents, even having a resource consent to be able to renovate a property, to be able to subdivide a property or develop a property, that there straight away is adding value. See many people over the years jump in, get the consents and sell a property on with that added value. The usage of the property. Is the property commercial? Is it residential? Which is going to be the better way to actually hold this property and rent it out to get the best returns, but potentially the best tax benefits and also the best lending opportunities as well. As well as that, always ensuring that you got the properties at market rent. That's something you really want to make sure that you are doing, because having a property at market rent certainly controls the value of it, but also make sure that you're getting the income associated to that property. Now, taking that all into account, we need to then apply this concept that I've shown you, as well as the adding value, to the properties that you're going to be buying. Now, so often when people jump into purchasing property, we often see them go in and buy properties in an area where they feel comfortable. It's often to do with the ability to know that the property is on the drive to work, or the property's in an area where my uncle lives, so he can drive past on the way to work. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're buying properties with a clear vision as to the best way for us to be able to ensure that we are hitting our goals. So when we start to get there and start to understand what our goals are, we can start to create the best pathway to be able to buy the property. Now, how people buy property often, there's probably three ways, to be honest. There's usually, like I said, buying a home changing a home that you've lived in into a rental. That's probably something that's pretty common. That's a classic barbecue property investors chat, is that one. I'm going to keep my home, make that a rental, and buy myself a that dream home. They buy a house within the neighborhood, like I was sharing before. And the other way that you often see people going in and purchasing property is, attending a webinar and then being shown or expecting to be taught how to invest, but then end up being sold the property. Now, that's definitely not going to happen tonight. Don't you worry about that. We do not sell property at Wealth Mentor. It's all about education. But generally, that's the way people do go out there and buy properties. For me, all three of those strategies have one word in common, and that's hope. It's hope or it's gambling. It's a buy and hope strategy. So when we start to go back and we rewind, we go, right, what is our goal? What are we looking to actually achieve from our investments? Then we can look to implement the right strategy for that goal that we're looking to apply. So next in line comes our strategy. Once we've established what our strategy is going to be, then we look at what area is best going to suit the strategy, because not all strategies work in every area. Very important to make sure that. Also comes down to understanding your market, who is going to be renting, buying your property. And then last but not least comes the actual property. Too often people go, I want to buy an investment property. They jump online, they drive past this for sale sign, and that becomes your investment property. First of all, figure out your strategy that aligns with an opportunity to achieve your goal. Then you go to the area and then you go to the deal. In terms of what strategies you could be implementing, there's many. And even within these 5 strategies that you can see here, there's sub-strategies as well. We do go into a lot of detail on our masterclass in terms of how you can really understand a lot of these in a lot more detail. So I'm going to touch on a few of them now and give you guys a little bit of details. But really what you want to do is you want to align, again, that strategy to your goal. Now, team, somebody is unmuted. So if you just have a wee look and see who it is that is unmuted, I'll keep getting some sound, and I'm sure everybody else is getting that coming through as well. Don't want to interrupt my voice, do we? Right. So in terms of the 5 strategies that we've got there, first of all, owning a home. Yes, that can be a great opportunity in terms of if you are looking to utilize a KiwiSaver, you potentially have the ability to get different LVRs. It's a great way to create equity. Don't get me wrong. Usually not really an income side of it unless you're looking to get borders in, and then there's a good way to create some income and cash flow associated with that. Buy and hold, that there is the, I guess the base, the foundation of most people's portfolio. That there is a nice simple one that we can make sure you can build a solid property portfolio that's going to give you wealth, it's going to give you cash flow. Trading, flipping. There's actually some really great opportunities now in the trading, flipping space, creating properties that have demand. Creating properties that there is a known demand for, taking properties that don't have necessarily demand because of certain issues and creating the demand. Don't have time to go into a lot of detail on this now, but I actually spent an hour on trading during the masterclass. It's probably one of my favorite sections because that was a big part of my portfolio early on, was trading properties. As well as that, the next stage up, we jump into multi-offers, multi-income properties. We got multiple streams of income that in turn drives cash flow. So you might be talking about duplexes, you might be talking about multiple dwellings within a one building, or maybe more a minor dwelling or a granny flat associated to the property as well. This is a great way to get the most yield out of your property, and certainly is going to be the best way to drive your cash flow right up. Cool. As well as that, the next level up is developments, and that there is certainly the next stage of things when you jump into developments, and can be very lucrative, but a lot more capital has to go in there, and probably a lot more time is incorporated in that, and generally a lot more wealth at the back end of that as well. So what I want to do is I want to share with you guys a couple of recent deals. Before I do that, we do have some people in the waiting room, so let me see if I can let them in. Right. Not letting me let them in, too bad. Should have been here on time. There we go, got them in. Right, let's have a look at some recent deals. I want to start off with this deal here that Ruby did in Invercargill. Nice and simple deal that she's been able to do. And the thing I like about this one is it's a low price point, but also it has solid cash flow, but also follows the principles that we talk about in terms of equity uplift. So first of all, she was able to purchase this property at $280,000. The way that this deal was structured is she was able to get a really good purchase price on it, as well as that she actually found a few issues on the property, and in turn a slightly different value was agreed upon with the vendor on settlement. The market value that came through on purchase was actually $310,000. So the value of it at purchase was $310,000. This settled just last month. The renovation on the property, $30,000, and it's expected, this is not a guaranteed number, but they're expected based on current market numbers to get a value of around about $390,000. When you look at that as a whole, there's $80,000 of wealth created in that property. $80,000 of wealth. That there is not something to be sneezed at. That there is more than most people earn in terms of an average wage, and that has been created from one purchase. Bearing in mind that the purchase is not $280,000 going in because you are leveraging banks or lenders. Brilliant. You maybe put in 20%, 30% and get that equity uplift. It's a great thing in terms of the leverage that we can do within property. But then we take it across. Now, this purchase is not just about the equity uplift. Yes, it's very important. And remember, I talked to you about the fact that we want to get equity uplift as well as wealth. So this property as well has another great part of it, and that is that it's actually got a great numbers in terms of its cash flow. So the property on a monthly basis is getting in $1,906 per month. You can tell that's an accurate number because it's at $6 at the end. In terms of the lending, this is run at 60% loan to value ratio, just to be aware that it is mainstream lending. ASB, ANZ are offering 60% on investment properties. If you go to some of the other lenders, it can get different. I'm going to show you a deal that is slightly different. Interest on the property at $700, monthly operating expenses. That covers off your insurances, your rates, and any expenses that you've got within the property, and a management fee, because Ruby doesn't live in Invercargill. She lives in Auckland, but she's got a great team down there that's able to do this one. Sorry, she lives in Christchurch. My apologies. She invested in Invercargill. But this property here is creating $729 per month for her on a small purchase. It's great to see the income that's been produced from a simple buy and hold. Now, this is the base of what you could be expecting. Now, for those of you that are on top of the interest or the tax changes, yes, interest deductibility does affect this property because it is an in-situ. So interest is going to mean about a $2,500, approximately $2,000 to $2,500 extra tax payable on this property. But does it actually still stack up in terms of that extra interest that needs to be paid on this property? I thought to myself, you know what, let's do a comparison. Let's have a look at an existing property versus a new build. And then we can get a bit of an idea as to whether the interest deductibility on this type of property is worth having. Now, we've got ways that you can not have to be able to claim interest. And we definitely talk about that. Example, social housing, new code of compliances. But if we run through these numbers, you can see there, for an existing property, like Ruby's here, these are sort of the numbers that you could expect on a simple buy and hold. For a new build, this is generally what you're going to get. This is a 5% yielding property, $500,000 purchase, $500 per week rent, and no renovation, no equity created, because the value that you buy it, the value it is. It's just hope for some value to increase. And then you have the interest deduction, no extra taxes, cash flowing at $4,500. But Ruby's deal is actually creating $6,200 of cash flow. So you got to ask yourself, yes, I'm paying more tax on it, but I'm actually still earning more money. And wouldn't we rather be having the ability to earn more money than worry about paying more tax? At the end of the day, paying tax is just a byproduct of earning money. It's probably worth grabbing a screenshot of that one, guys, because I think it's important to understand the difference between those buy and hold, existing and new builds. Before I do go any further, grab a photo of that so you can understand how that interest deduction can affect your numbers. But again, there is ways that you can be interested, have the interest deduction. And this next deal that I'm going to show you certainly covers that off. And this is a multi-income property. It's an absolute beautiful property, multiple income streams. purchased just last month. This is Hamish who bought this property for $740,000. It's got multiple streams of income. It's got there's an error on my slide there. That's not the market value at 310. That is the deposit on the property. It's have a $42,000 renovation. This is so fresh that yes, the numbers aren't, the slide's not even correct on that one. Apologies from my side there. Renovation of $42,000 on this property. The cash flow number, just for reference, is actually at 100% lending. So if Hamish borrowed all the money using previous properties as security, that might be a little bit confusing, but don't worry. For those of you attending the masterclass, we'll make sure you're on top of that one. But the property here was able to get a post-reno value of 1.235 mil. Pretty cool. That's huge equity uplift. It had the ability from a simple renovation to be able to get a huge equity uplift, and it worked out to be a beautiful, beautiful purchase. Let's have a look at how that numbers work. So again, purchase price deposited at $222,000. That they're giving a lending of 70%. There's the renovation, getting that new valuation at the back end of it. But for Hamish, it's about, okay, how can we make sure we have the ability to refinance this property? Now, this is a really, really cool concept. I'm very excited to be sharing this with you. And it might be a little bit over your head for some of you, but it is something that you really want to get on top of if you're looking to purchase a property and be able to make sure that you're creating the wealth. So this property that Hamish was able to purchase was valued, like I said before, at 1.2, meaning that the new lending associated to this property at 70% means he could now borrow $864,000 against the new value of this property. Remembering he had an old loan on this property at $518,000, that's what the bank lent him originally at 70%. That then gave him, with a $42,000 renovation, the ability to take out of the deal. That's right, the bank pays him $304,000 on this property. So technically he got paid to purchase this, but remember he put the deposit in of $222,000 if we're running this at 70%. So he's put $222,000 in. The banks get, well, the new value is this. He has $304,000 out of the deal, essentially meaning he got paid $82,000 to buy a property. He got paid $82,000 to buy a property. Now, it's probably like, what, that makes no sense. Because you know what, there's even a better part to this, is that it's actually tax-free as well. Because it's not actually money that is given to him as an income, but it's actually a loan associated to the property. It's such a cool concept, and I'd love to be able to share this with more detail with you guys at the masterclass, like I mentioned before. Pretty epic to see. Who wouldn't mind one of these deals within their portfolio? Remember, it's creating $25,000 of passive income every year without doing anything. That's over $2,000 per month in his portfolio, rolling into his bank account, as well as that $82,000 of cash available. Absolutely epic, Tanya. I agree completely. Very, very cool deal that Hamish did, and congratulations to him. But it's so cool to see our students out there doing such exceptional stuff. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this slide before, but it comes back to it. Go into the transactions not needing the property to increase the value. Now, guys, I have mentioned the masterclass a couple of times. I realize that if you want to know more about what it is, grab your phones. It's really cool, actually. You scan that thing. I know that we've done a lot of scanning over the last few years, but this is a really good scan. Jump on, scan that barcode in the top right corner there, and it'll give you a little bit more details on the property masterclass that we run. Now, when you jump in there, where it says coupon code, I want you to put in property 195 and see what happens. Now, for those of you that don't want to test out the amazing technology, what I'll do is I'll drop in the chat for you guys the link. There we go. And when you get there, coupon code 195. So the dates for the next masterclass is next weekend. Now, if those dates don't work for you, don't worry. We do have another one coming up at the end of September as well. We run these generally about every 6 weeks. They're pretty amazing. It's 3 full days that we run dedicated to wealth creation within the property space. We've got a great team that we bring in to be able to teach you guys. It's all about property. It's wealth strategies. We go through multiple different strategies. And it's a great networking opportunity. There's some amazing people that we have joining us. Now, before I do go any further, I'd love to be able to share with you guys a trade, a property where someone has gone and purchased a property with the intention of selling it. Now, I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm going to be running slightly over time because I've actually packed too much value in for the hour. So I'm going to keep, if everyone's okay with that, give me a thumbs up or give me a nod, or get me in the chat. I'm going to be going a little bit longer because I do have a bit more that I'd love to be able to share with you guys. But what I want to share with you now is actually a trade that Matt was able to do, a low-level trade as well. What the trade was able to do, it was able to give him some really good profit. Now, this is how you would want to be looking at it in terms of running these fundamentals here that I shared with you on a property transaction, buy and sell. When you look at these deals that Matt's done, purchased at $250,000, there's some holding costs in there because remember, he's not renting this one out. Reno the property, $90,000, but he's gone in and then sold it for $475,000. That's a profit of $99,000. Don't you just wish he had another $1,000 profit in this deal? I certainly do. It would have been cooler to say $100,000. But anyway, a $99,000 profit from a nice, simple trade. Now, Matt is actually 23 years old. It's so cool to see. He's now doing multiple developments. He's been featured in the Herald alongside another Wealth Mentor student. So cool to see. And he's now done over $10 million worth of property transactions at only 23 years old, which is pretty exceptional because when he joined us at the masterclass, he was definitely not into trading property at that stage. This deal was done in Wanganui. And that's where Matt does a lot of his transactions and has been very successful with his deals. So like Matt, when we have the masterclass, we have a lot of exceptional mentors joining us. Here's a couple of people that we do actually have joining us on the 3 days. Now, I want to start off with Ryan on the far left-hand side there. Ryan's known as our in-house economist. Great mind when it comes to understanding markets. He would laugh at me in the fact that I give you guys all those concepts and he would agree, but as well as that, he would have a lot of key details that he could share with you. Carol's going to be there on the masterclass. She is a social housing guru. She's going to be doing exceptional stuff. Therese built an amazing portfolio. Really beautiful person, very IT background, very much about details. And Paul Southey, who is an absolute legend amongst the Wealth Mentor community, has built over 700 homes, and his whole aura mana is about giving back and being able to give back to his communities and share his knowledge. So we've got some great people joining us. Wealth Mentor, we've been fortunate enough to educate thousands of people, and I'm proud to be able to share this because this was a step for me on the property journey. This is what got me the ability to jump in and get into property and change my life. Those dates again for you guys that are keen to be looking at joining us at the masterclass. We do go into a lot of details. I'm going to share with you in just a moment each day how that looks. And again, if you haven't gone in and found that details, there's that barcode again. And there's exceptional value. Remember, the coupon code is property 195 12 13 14 of August next weekend, the next one being the end of September if those dates don't work for you, but you want to jump on and take advantage of it. Here's what we actually include within the masterclass package. So you get the 3 days included. You also get a one-on-one strategy during the event. You catch up with myself, one of my team. We have about a half an hour session dedicated to you, your situation, your transactions, your properties, how we can best create the wealth that you're after, share our knowledge, be able to answer any of your questions. As well as that, we then jump in. We have an online resources and a community that you get part of. The networking is probably one of the key parts of the masterclass. It's a chance to catch up and meet and spend time with exceptional people, which we really, really love. You get complete support from Wealth Mentor post-event as well with your transactions. We're here. As well as that, guys, we have a strategy call leading up, so we can make sure that you guys are on top of things leading into the masterclass. Those strategy calls are done by Carol, who you guys will absolutely love. Renee, I'm sure you'll give Carol a big thumbs up. She's a beautiful, beautiful person. And I think the call alone is worth catching on and having a chat to Carol. So usually we do actually sell our masterclass at $14.97, but we are offering a opportunity which is pretty ridiculous at only $195. Yeah, it's pretty silly pricing. So I would jump on that one, even if you can't make it this weekend or next weekend coming up. It's a great opportunity to grab 3 days. The value that you're going to get is going to be exceptional. Here's what we do on each of the days. Day one is about the foundations. It's about really making sure that we understand the fundamentals. Guys, if any of the numbers that I was running today seemed a little bit over your head or a little bit confusing, I will go into detail on that and be able to make sure you guys understand how to run the numbers, how the lending works, shifting into a professional mindset, or the mindset of how we can buy properties with a clear strategy. We'll go into buying rules. I've shared with you guys 2 buying rules today. Buy below value, add value. There's 8 of them, so we'll go into more details on that. We'll look at some real life deals, analyze them in a lot more detail. Tonight I only had an hour. We've got 3 days to jump into a lot of detail and doing a market analysis. Ryan will be in to do the market analysis. The first day really is an eye-opening. And I love throwing this out there because I've never had to do it. But for those of you that at the end of day one go, you know what, Jono, this is not for us, more than happy to refund you $195. More than happy at the end of day one. So I'm that confident that you guys will absolutely love it. Day 2, we do get into a little bit more of the details. We look at some more different strategies, for example, boarding houses, multi-income, trading. We also have our one-on-one strategy sessions on the Saturday. We do something that is really cool on Saturday as well, and that is we play a game. It's called the property game, where you are going to go out there and pretend to buy a property, and it's amazing how competitive people get, but that really is a lot of fun. That game that we do hold on the Saturday, you guys will absolutely love it. And we get into some real in-depth analysis on our portfolio. Sunday, we go developments. Paulie's going to share with you guys developments and the details around jumping into developments. Taxes, I know you guys are dying to hear about taxes, so we'll go into those details. Hopefully that you know, we'll keep it till Sunday because I know how excited you guys all are about taxes. We'll talk social housing, the tax benefits, and how we can actually bring social housing within our portfolio, and also negotiating so you can make sure you are getting the best deal for your money. This is a great quote from Dino. Everyone has been exceptional. It's really cool. Now, guys, as well as that, I realize that it's always nice to have someone join you. So your friend does join you at no extra charge whatsoever. So for you and a mate to come along, your partner, a friend, no worries, anyone that you feel like you would like to attend this event, I think it's a great opportunity to bring someone along and share that journey. So again, that means that all of this is included for 2 people at $195. So there's a whole lot of value there for a whole, not much of an expense. We really feel like you guys would get so much out of the opportunity to spend time with some really, really exceptional people. I know that a couple of people on the call have met some of those people, and you really do want to be spending time with people like that you can share their knowledge in. Again, that link is in the chat, guys. If you scroll up just a couple of comments, that link is there. Otherwise, if you've scanned it already, jump in and grab that discount code. I'd love to have you joining us. I absolutely love the masterclass. We've got a great team lined up, and you guys will get a whole lot out of it. As I said, grab your spot. We'd love to have you and be able to show you guys a different way of investing and be able to create the life that you guys deserve. Up to you guys which path do you want to take. I love this slide. Do nothing, keep doing what we've always done. Keep going to work on that Monday morning, or doing stuff that doesn't inspire us, or start to create the wealth that you and your family absolutely deserve. Guys, it's been great to have you all tonight. I'm apologies for the tech issues, but don't worry, on the masterclass, we have our tech guy Nimesh here, and I am renowned for my tech issues. So he will make sure that we have no problems whatsoever during the masterclass, and we will rip into it. I can't wait, guys. It is a virtual event. It's interactive. You guys will be talking to us. We'll be talking to you. We see you. You see us. Lots of breakout rooms, lots of time with everybody. So we hope to see you at the masterclass. And there's only one way that I can finish, and that is, guys, get out there and make sure that you stay awesome. Good night, everybody.